before we begin, I have to kind of go through a little bit of a disclaimer. I'll get this boring shit out of the way, then we'll get into what everybody really came for, so just kind of bear with me. First of all, why I dropped off the board. There wasn't a whole lot of new content, and Shaner had kind of been chased down the rabbit hole, and it just wasn't that fun for me. I had other things going on in my life at that point, and I didn't have time to sit there and play peekaboo with Leonard Shaner. That was not on the top of my priority list. Sorry. I've been gathering content. I'm still very good friends with a lot of people in the rail fan world and indeed the railroading industry itself. And I've been gathering a lot of stories and content, and that's what kind of prompted my return. Plus, somebody tagged me in the new thread. I thought Noel had locked it up, but he hadn't. So I decided to come back. So this is kind of my way of sharing the next batch of stories. It's just easier for me, guys. Typing those long paragraphs, not really my favorite thing in the world to do. So yeah, right. Shaner stuff. A couple of disclaimers about Leonard Shaner from a rail fan's perspective. First of all, I'm going to say this, and I hope that everybody's kind of smart enough to figure it out. There are a lot of rail fans in the world. A lot of them. Not all of them are like Shaner. Yes, a lot of us are autistic, but not all of us are as off the wall as that shitlord. And Leonard Shaner is kind of famous, believe it or not. People who have never heard of any of the railroads that he is or was associated with, I should say was, they know the name, they know about him. A lot of them know about Kiwi Farms because of everybody's efforts. Everybody clap. Everybody give yourself a round of applause. That's right. Yep, y'all did good. Okay. The thing is, though, that's a good thing for more than one reason. Number one, Leonard Shaner is, in my opinion, he's really not just something to make fun of. There are rail fans in the community that are just mentally disabled and they need help, and sometimes it's funny to make fun of them, sometimes it's not. Everybody that's on the forums knows there comes a time in every cow's life when it's just, why would you make fun of them? It's so sad. I mean, and there are some of them that are like that. Shaner is not one of them. He digs his own grave every day, and he deserves to be run into the ground every day of the week. Every hour of the day, doesn't matter. Shaner is dangerous in more than one way. First of all, he's dangerous to railroad operations. Shaner is in what we in the railroad industry we call them ticket people. They give out tickets. Check tickets. That's about all they're good for. Because somebody like Leonard Shaner does not have the mental capacity to know how to work anything mechanical on a locomotive or a passenger car. He's just not mentally competent to do it. The Federal Railroad Administration tests that are about that don't really govern that part of it. They leave that kind of up to the railroad's discretion, but even a volunteer railroad that's desperate for labor, if they're smart, they would never, ever take a chance on Leonard Shaner being in charge of something more complicated than a pencil. A mechanical pencil is just too much for him. He doesn't know how to, he can't do this. He's used to this, not this. And that was a very bad joke. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Sorry. Anyway, so the other thing that he's really dangerous about is, you guys have read the stories about him trying to sabotage railroad operations. That sounds really bad on the face of it. and then we move on. You guys don't realize how scary that some of the stuff that he knows enough how to do really is. From putting tie plates on rails, degreasing rails. I don't think he has the physical strength to pull a rail out of alignment, but if he did, if he was pissed off enough, he could derail a train and somebody could get hurt or even killed. That's why he's dangerous. It's not because he's a publicity nightmare. It's because he has the physical and mental knowledge to seriously disrupt railroad operations. He has the knowledge to do it. I didn't say he was strong enough to do it or stupid enough. Okay, he's stupid enough, but he's dangerous in that aspect. And let me tell you something. When you're rolling along, even at 15 miles an hour, and you're looking out of the cab of a locomotive and you see something wrong with the track, you don't think, I'm going to die. You think, everybody behind me is going to die. When it's done intentionally, it should always be considered an act of domestic terrorism and prosecuted as such. Shaner has gotten away with way too much shit. Way too much shit. And my hope is that one of these days, the stuff that's posted on the farms will result in him being prosecuted to the absolute fullest extent of the law and being brought to justice for what he's done. Now, the other danger, he likes children. That's not just something that was created on the form. That's not just something that people made up to, make him look bad. There are multiple accounts of Shaner trying to get alone with children or get touchy-feely with... There he is. There's the man. We've been waiting. You're going to have to back up and watch all this, but I can't help it anymore. I'm not going back and repeating all that. Sorry. You're just going to have to deal with it. But, there are multiple accounts of that. And it's not just little kids. It's basically anything that breathes, Leonard Shaner will at some point try to fuck. And the problem is, he's going to find, one of these days, he's going to come across somebody that's stupid enough to believe his bullshit, and he is going to take advantage of them, and he's going to scar them for life. And we all know the horror stories of what happens to people that have been through that kind of thing. They become horribly depressed. They get suicidal. And worse, self-mutilation is a thing. And I would really hate to see Lynn Shaner be the cause of something like that. And because of that, here I am tonight, here to share a few more stories from the International Bank of Shaner, and hopefully you guys get a pretty big laugh out of it, and hear them as well. I hope we have a couple of people recording. The only thing I ask is that maybe use a little bit of voice modulation just for my safety. I don't really fear Leonard Shaner. Not because I carry a gun, but because I'm physically strong enough on my own to knock his ass out, and I would love the chance to do so. But I'm more worried about my family. So, if we put this up somewhere, edit it a little bit for me, please. That's the only thing I ask. Right then, let's get into the stories. So the first story I have to tell you guys is, it comes from a very good friend of mine who works for Norfolk Southern. Now, Norfolk Southern is one of the largest railroads in the United States. I don't need a lantern. I've got a pistol right over there. No, I don't. But I've got some nice I've got some things to stab things with, so I'm not worried about it. Anyway, I digress. Good friend of mine who works for Norfolk Southern as a police officer for Norfolk Southern. Now, for those of you who don't know how railroad law enforcement works, Railroad police officers that work for the big railroads are federalized police officers. They have all the same powers as a federal agent. They have, the only jurisdiction they have is on their railroad or their railroad's property, which is a lot of territory. And they're typically assigned to specific regions. Well, he was telling me a story a few weeks ago about some things that have been going on in the Pennsylvania area. As you guys know, Leonard Shaner loves to collect all things railroad, and you know, I guess eBay's not enough, but then again, if he's only rolling on SSID checks or whatever, then I guess you're broke. Lynn Shaner has been fingered by the Norfolk Southern Police Department as a suspect in the theft of some locomotive horns. Evidently, they've got him on video, or they've got somebody that matches his description on video, climbing on locomotives and removing their horns and driving away. They don't have a match on the vehicle, but it's near Lynn's house. It looks like Lynn. You know what they say, if it looks like shit and smells like shit, it's probably shit. So, there you go. Another really good story about Lynn being dangerously stupid. For those of you who don't know what a traction engine is, it's basically a steam locomotive, but it's a tractor. So you can put a... Why does that not surprise me? Anyway. Traction engine, yeah. He had gone to an event in Pennsylvania and had evidently had a good talk with one of the owners or something or other about coming up and helping volunteer or whatever. And this has been a few years ago. And Lynn decides that he wants some nice pictures of a 1913 Altnum Taylor traction engine running. Well, the only one that they had was one that had not actually seen steam since about 1943, maybe, somewhere in there. You know, and it had the grates in it enough that he could put things in the firebox, but it didn't have any water in it. The tubes were rusted out. I mean, it was basically a rust bucket. And usually, if we're going to stage... Oh! Long time no see. Normally, if you're going to stage, you know, something being under steam when it's not, you get a smoke machine or a used tire and throw it in the firebox. No, Lynn decides he's going to build a real fire in this. So he loads it up with some coal. He puts it in a nice big pile in the middle. He gets some 2x4, throws it in there, gets some diesel fuel, throws that in there, and lights the thing. Nobody really noticed because this engine's tucked back away off in the corner. It's been dragged out for display purposes. And somebody noticed an alarmingly large amount of black smoke, which is what you get when you fire something up and you put about 5 gallons of diesel fuel on top of oily rags and rubber and anything else you can throw in that'll burn. And this engine's rolling smoke, and it's beginning to heat up. The coal is actually beginning to burn at this point, and there's good old Lenny boy standing, taking pictures. No problem. No worries. Well, they confronted Lynn about it. Lynn said, "Oh, I have no idea." And what do you think?